Hi, and welcome to The Curling Show, the podcast that brings you interviews with the sport's top athletes and the people who shape the game. I'm Dean Gemmel, and in this edition, it was time to catch up once again with the guy who was this show's very first guest way back in 2005. Two-time world champion, currently number 6 in the Asham World Curling Tour list, and this is going to hurt, I'm afraid, runner-up in the Casino-Rama Skins game. Wayne Middaugh, welcome back to The Curling Show.
Great to be back. Thanks, Dean, for having me.
Hey, you love the Skins format, Wayne. We all know that, but I think it's safe to say the nuances of it both helped and hurt you at the Casino-Rama Skins. Did you walk off the ice after both games and sort of wonder what the heck happened?
No, it was, we knew going in the way they had set up the money was a little different. Normally, if you win the first 6 ends, you can win the game. Where this year they put all the money in the back end, so you had to win either 7 or 8 or both. If you're having a bad game, you could win both. And as it turns out, the first game we were way behind, and we just kept telling ourselves, you know what, let's just play a couple good ends and get better and get better. And the first game we got better as the game went on, and Glenn got a couple bad breaks. On the other side of the coin, we played Martin, and we played great off the start, and and then it went the other way against us. Bottom line is we played 8 good ends that weekend. It just happened to be the last 4 against Glenn and the first 4 against Martin.
Hey, Matt Hames on the Curling News blog first said that he'd see you miss an outturned peel once out of every 100 times. You missed 2, unfortunately. What happened on those?
I'm going to say it's a calling error.
Oh, yeah, you're going to... Okay.
It was scary. Like, both of them actually touched the rock. Like, the one to throw it that hard, and the one time we moved the rock 2.5 feet, and the other time we moved the rock an inch. To throw it that hard and to do that little bit of damage is unbelievable.
Hey, what about the fact that so many skins were taken without last rock this time?
Well, I think it was because so many teams played a lot more aggressive, and it really showed with Kevin's game. What Kevin was up to, he would have literally a Hail Mary shot for a deuce, and like the one time against us, he played a quad. Another time, he played this wick triple. So he was really throwing a Hail Mary to try and get his deuce. But by the same token, he knew early in the game that, you know what, these points don't really matter that much. So, and he played it right, and he played it smart, and you know what, and at the end of the day, it obviously worked out for him.
Hey, why do you think we don't see more teams go top 4 when they don't have last rock with skins? It seems effective.
I don't think it worked very well. Everybody that went top 4 without last rock pretty much gave away the end most of the time.
Did they this time? Who did it? Yeah. Glenn did it? Did you do it?
Glenn did it the most. We never do it. We always go short.
You always go short?
Yeah, if we did it, it was by accident.
Okay. Hey, when we see the skins and we see a lot of good shot making and there's a lot of rocks in play, I think one of the things we're seeing in the Asham World Curling Tour, in my mind, is that maybe the talent of the players has outstripped the rules again. Do you think it's time to tweak the rules in traditional curling a little bit?
You know what? I'm not really sure. I think, part of it has to do the ice conditions keep getting better, and the guys on the other side of the coin, the defense is getting better. That just means you have to be a better offensive team as well. You look at the great teams, the Kevin Martins and the Glenn Howards, they still have no trouble putting points on the board. So when they're playing well, it's a great offensive battle and defensive battle.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the thing is you have to go your point is that you have to play offensive against these teams and do well. If you could lose it early, though, right? I mean, I think that's the downfall for fans sometimes, is that the games seem over because the guys can make so many big weight shots later.
Yeah, you can, but by the same token, the good, solid teams, like I say, the Glenn Howards and the Kevin Martin, even if they get down 3 or 4 points, they can still manage to muster offense. They can get back in the game. So there's a bigger spread now between the top teams and the lower teams. We're one of those teams somewhere in the middle. And, it really does show, like, if you're not playing on your game, the guys who play every day and take this seriously and do this for a living, basically, they're tough to beat. They're solid teams, but by the same token, they should be. When they put that much effort into it, they get a lot out of it.
Okay, let's talk about that. You mentioned you were on Off the Record with the other 3 scripts, a great thing that TSN did, Off the Record with Michael Landsberg. You talked a little bit about the fact that some other teams devote themselves full-time to curling, and you can't. You said the same thing the last time you played in a Tim Hortons Briar, and I think some people misinterpreted your statement. So explain to me what you really mean when you bring that up.
Sure. Well, basically what I mean is it's just, I have different priorities than everybody else. And don't get me wrong, I love curling, and I wish I had the time. If anything, I'm probably a little bit jealous that they can do that. But at the end of the day, my family is number one important, and it's way ahead of everything else. After that, probably the health of myself and the people around me, basically my family again. And even behind that, you got to look at your career, because if you don't have some type of consistent income, you can't take care of your family. And then probably curling is down somewhere behind those. So in priorities in the big picture, it's probably about 4th or 5th on my list. And don't get me wrong, I love going to the Briar, and I love playing in skins events, but, when you have all these other things going on in your life, it really, at the end of the day, when you lose the skins game, you come back and you see your family, and they give you a hug, and they're like, okay, Dad, you lost. At the end of the game, you really realize what's important.
The other thing on Off the Record, we saw there seemed to me a little bit of a divide between the old guard and the new guard. Maybe this is parallel to what we were just talking about, but you and Glenn perhaps representing a bit of the old guard, Brad Gushu, maybe the new guard, and Kevin, despite his age, close to you, I guess, or a little older, I think he's somewhere in between. Is your concern that there's a new wave? You talked about the Olympics and how you thought that they'd ruin the game, which you said actually maybe wasn't the best point to make. It wasn't quite accurate. But you talked about the Olympics and your feeling that they've hurt the game. Are you worried that the future of curling is not going to have personalities of the eras of, say, Wernick, Hackner, Lukowicz, Heck Gervais, those kind of guys?
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. You had the Wernicks of the world, and they live by drink, draw, win. And that's kind of the era that I grew up under. And you know what, Ed Wernick was the greatest guy, and I was lucky enough to play with Russ and to learn from them and pick up a lot of things along the way. And Russ wasn't a full Ed Wernick, that's for sure. He was kind of a cross in the middle. And then nowadays it seems like, and there's some guys like the Gushus of the world, the Martins and that. These guys train and they curl and they work at it, and their only goal is to get to the Olympics. And I keep telling them, guys, at the end of the day, we all got to get up and go to work Monday morning. And that's always been my issue, that none of us are multi-millionaires. And maybe to their point, well, maybe if we were a little more professional and did it, we might be millionaires. But you know what, the downtime in between, I don't have that kind of time. You might, or somebody else might, but I sure don't.
Is your point that they won't be millionaires, or is it, if you look back in a career in curling, it's like, how do you measure how rich it was? Is it how much money you made, or how many acquaintances and friends you made?
And that's the way I look at it. How many acquaintances and friends you made? Did you enjoy yourself? Did you enjoy yourself off the ice as much as you did on the ice? And you know what? I got to thank curling. If it wasn't the social sport it was, I probably wouldn't be in the position I am right now. I met my wife through curling, who's just an outstanding lady, and she still plays. She's a lot more competitive than I am, and she puts a ton more effort into it. She has team meetings, and they have sports psychologists and everything else, and there's nobody I'd like to see win something major more than her, because she does put a lot of effort into the game. But if it wasn't for the social side of curling, Sherry and I would have never met, and I wouldn't be here right now taking care of my kids.
Oh yeah, you've got you're in charge of that this weekend, because Sherry's out of the Canada Cup qualifier, isn't she?
That is correct. She's out in Edmonton, and I've been dad all week. It was my turn, and then next week I get to go to Port Hawkesbury.
Hey, during that same off-the-record appearance, you told Kevin Martin flatly that he was cheating back in the 91 Briar and Worlds. Had you ever said that to him before?
Yes, I've teased him about that for a long time. That it's not the first time we've teased each other back and forth. And Kevin and I have had a very good rivalry going back from when I first started skipping back in the mid to late 90s, and somewhere in there, we played a ton of games against each other: Skins Games finals, the World Curling Tour Players Championship finals, so many games. But at the end of the day, back in 91, I was at that Briar, and
that was your first Briar, wasn't it?
That was my first Briar. The ice was dead straight, and Kevin just believed he was putting curl into the ice. That is his answer, and that he'll stick by that answer. I was just trying to make the ice a little, put a little more curl into it, so we could play a little more aggressive. But at the end of the day, a rock would be coming in heavy, and he'd immediately sweep with the corn into it backwards, and it would slow it down and make it curl. It wasn't in violation of rules at the time. The fact that they changed the rule might have told you that there was definitely a moral obligation there to do the right thing. And
spirit of the game, we call it, right?
Yeah, that's right. But you know what, Kevin, at the end of the day, he's made a lot of changes since then. Since the early 90s, Kevin had a bit of a bad reputation about doing stuff like that, but Kevin's done a really good job. He's very fan-friendly and player-friendly, and at the end of the day, Kevin's a pretty good guy.
Yeah, I mean, he takes a lot of heat, but he also has to be looked back on it in some way as a guy who really did help build the game considerably over the last few years. Sure,
of this era, he's one of the best shot makers going. He's entertaining to play against. He's entertaining to watch. And, he's a pretty straight shooter now. Like, he goes out and he curls his game, no ands, ifs, or buts. He's got a good, solid team in front of him with John and Mark and Benny, and, they're all good guys. And, you like playing against them, too, because you're playing against the best.
Who do you think is the number one team out there right now?
I'm going to give it between Glenn and Kevin. It's definitely those two are right at the top of their games, and they're both having great years. I think Glenn's won 3 times on tour, Kevin's won 3 times on tour, and the rest of us are just fodder to try and sneak around them somehow. Fodder,
right. I'm not quite sure I'm buying that, but anyways, hey, let's talk about your own team. You've got a platoon this year, the platoon of, you've used a platoon for a couple of years, but you got the platoon of 5 with John Meade from Manitoba. How's that worked out?
that's been awesome. John is just a great guy. He's been a treat to play with. Just light and enjoys the game. I've never met a guy that can play at that level and be so, for lack of a better word, unserious. Like he's out there and he's intense, but he's like, yeah, whatever, skipper, try and make this hit and roll. If you don't make it, no big deal. So it's great to play with that attitude, and it's fun having 5 players. We rotate in and out. I've missed an event. Graham's missed. Graham hasn't played in 3 or 4.
And Graham's played second once when he and Tetley didn't make it, right?
Graham's played second twice.
Okay.
In 2 events. Second twice and skipped once. So Graham's been all over the map. So it's been different, but we all have so many things going on. Graham has 7 kids. 2 of them one of them's a 1-year-old and a newborn. Ian has 3 kids. Scott has 2 kids. I have 2 kids. So we have so many other things going on outside of curling, and at the end of the day, we got to take care of our families first, and we've all agreed that that's the most important thing to us. So that's what we do.
I hope we see a bit more of it. Actually, guys who are are at that point in their lives where they can't maybe devote as much time, but are great shot makers, go to 5 or even 6-man rotations and just try to get into more events that way.
It's worked for us. It's just been a great thing for us, and it's something that I do really recommend it. It's something that's worked out really well.
You need the right guys, I guess, but it's certainly working for you guys. Hey, we finished with the run back, Wayne. As you know, I give you a topic. You give me your thoughts on it in 1 to 3 words.
Okay.
Randy Furby blowing up the Continental Cup.
Oh, God, I wish I had been there to see it.
Yeah, he was hot, but you got to wonder when the Germans are high-fiving after a rock picked. I didn't see that, but I think that's the same team where they have the front-end player wears the sunglasses. So yeah,
we've had that happen to us before with the Norway guys. They did that, and they were high-fiving when we'd miss a shot or get a bad break or something like that. And it really is annoying because, Randy's another guy, kind of old guard, we'll call him, that has grown up under a little more traditional rules than, the cutthroat, and it's just different. The Europeans just play a little different game, and obviously with beating them, it got under his skin a little bit more, and off the handle he went. Like I said, I was just disappointed I wasn't there to see it.
It seems like once they play a bit more over here, they sort of come around a bit. You see guys like Pal Trilson and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there's definitely a divide there, isn't there? I shouldn't say, I have actually a lot of listeners in Germany, so I better be careful about what I say about the German team. Hey, not playing in the Canada Cup qualifier in Ottawa this weekend.
You know what? We had to play the Skins game last weekend. So to play the Skins game and to make 29,000, or to go to the Canada Cup qualifier and win and make 14 or 15, I was kind of liking the 1-1 record for 30,000 rather than the 8-1 record or 8-0 record for 15.
That is tough math to argue against.
Yeah, it seems like a pretty good trade-off to me.
Yeah. Russ Howard in the A final at the Canada Cup qualifier today, or 1A final.
Well, great for him. Russ, I guess he won a Spiel over in Europe somewhere this year, and he's been kind of hot and cold. And I know we get Russ next week. He's in our pool next week, so I'm really looking forward to playing the old skipper again and seeing what he has left in him.
Your Ontario Zone playdowns this weekend.
Tomorrow morning, 9:30 at St. George. Yes, we're off to there first thing in the morning.
Ontario Zones are a real crazy march, aren't they?
It sure is. Ontario is probably, I'm thinking, 15 years behind the rest of the country in playdown format and playdown systems. So they really need to catch up and do something smart. To they've got Glenn in this year as a bye. They should have thrown one more bye, and I don't care what it was, from CTRS points to the Ontario Curling Tour money ranking, but they could have went to 12 teams so easy this year, and they really missed the boat on that one.
Yeah. I mean, I don't see what their resistance to a 12-team provincial is, but anyways.
I don't know. We're there for 8 days. Heck, they could. There's no reason we couldn't throw another 2 games in there.
Yeah, and I had Brent Lang on. We were talking about the fact there's a lot of good Ontario teams, I think, who are sort of one step below, but they don't get to travel much. So you give a couple more teams a chance to play in a provincial final would be a good experience.
I think it'd be a great experience.
8 ends versus 10 in traditional curling.
If you can win in 8, you can win in 10, or you can win in 10, you can win in 8. It really doesn't matter. Bottom line is the best teams, doesn't matter how many ends you play. Kevin Martin was a great team when we played 10 ends, and Kevin Martin's a great team when we play 8 ends. So I don't see a big difference, actually.
But then the argument would be, well, why not 4?
maybe, but the bottom line is it's for entertainment and marketability to the fans. All the sports are trying to speed up their pace of play. Everything else, curling's not the first to do that.
Right.
So you know what? There's no big deal. You know what? Even golf, even though it's still 18 holes, they're pretty quick to put somebody on the clock. And if a golfer's slow, they're pretty quick to mention it out, and they point it out. And
except for Tiger, who can be glacial.
Tiger can do pretty much what if you ran the sporting world, you could do what you wanted to.
Exactly. Hey, by the way, is anybody faster out of the hack than Scott Bailey?
Scott's pretty quick. Yeah, he's normally throwing at the guy's feet, trying to get them out of the way. And we talk about that, skins game, stuff like that. You got to save all the time you can because you never know what you're going to get into come the last year ends. But Scott and I have played together long enough. This is our 12th year, whatever it is, together, 13th maybe. And you know what? We're both on the same page with how to play the game and what shots to call. And when it's time to throw, it's time to throw. There's not too much thinking that really needs to go on.
Right. Hey, bagpiper Glenn Healy at the Casino-Rama Skins.
Awesome. That was great to see, a guy with a Stanley Cup ring on his finger piping in a bunch of curlers. That was such a treat.
Did he hang around afterwards?
Yeah, he did actually do a little bit of commentary. He was in around the third and fourth end, did a little commentary.
Yeah, I heard him doing the commentary, but did he hang around after the game or anything?
In the green room? No, I didn't see him afterwards in the green room.
All right, and finally, not being the last person in your household to win a Grand Slam.
Like I said earlier, it hurts a little bit. We're trying. We haven't won one for a couple of years, but you know what? Sherry puts so much effort into the game. She deserves to win every Grand Slam. And like I say, I'd love to see her win a Scott or the Olympic trials coming up because of the effort she puts into it. So nobody's happier for her. I'm her number one fan, so I'm ecstatic that she's won one.
So you don't harbor too much jealousy about it, that's for sure.
No, I'm still quite high on the money list compared to her. So
That's true. She's playing for a little less money, though.
I rub
she didn't get to play 2 games and win the money you did. Hey,
Hey,
finally, Wayne, I give everybody a chance to name their sponsors. I think, I know we got M&M Meats, but who else is behind you guys?
You know what? We couldn't do it. Couldn't even imagine doing what we do without M&M Meat Shops. And that's M&M Meat Shops where there's hundreds of meal ideas, one aisle.
Oh, geez, that's the most blatant promotion I've had on the show yet, right there. Jeez, you're not supposed to give a tagline.
And then, of course, BDO Dunwoody, they've been great. They've been with us for a couple years now and just been outstanding in so many ways, more ways than you can imagine. BDO has just been great. We've got a couple other sponsors with Asham Curling Supplies have done some great things. They made some new brooms for us that everybody loved last weekend. We have Boss Print and Creative that does some work for us for marketing purposes and make sure our sponsors get the proper promotion they need. And then we do some work for Kids Help Phone. So we take a percentage of our winnings every week. They go right into a bank account that goes right to Kids Help Phone. And that's nice that we can give some back, especially with all of us having young kids that, might not want to come to their parents to ask some crazy questions, but you know what, they can ask somebody that will give them a good answer.
All right, that's Kids Help Phone. Now, is that all across Canada, Kids Help Phone?
That's coast to coast. There's 10,000 volunteers for Kids Help Phone coast to quite a big organization, actually.
All right, well, thanks, Wayne. I appreciate your time. Good luck in your zones this weekend and out in Port Hawkesbury.
Thanks very much, Dean.
That's Wayne Middaugh on The Curling Show. Expect one more interview before the end of the year, along with some of my final thoughts on 2007 in curling, including my opinion of the recent Continental Cup. As always, thanks for listening.